Hello, welcome back. Today I'll be reading 3 true stories from Reddit. We'll be discussing stories involving very heavy furniture being moved, a haunted B&B, and a black mass with glowing red eyes. Let us begin with story number 1. I've just got to tell somebody about this. There's something living in my house. When we first moved in, there were thousands of dead flies in the window and on the floor that we had to sweep up. Nobody died in the house, I checked, and it's a small town, so I would know anyway. I thought it was strange, but we carried on with life. It was subtle at first, things getting moved from where they should be, or from where they were usually located. For example, a can of dog food that I normally store in the laundry room ended up under the kitchen sink, for example. Just things like that. Then came the weird noises in the middle of the night that woke me up. It sounded like my oldest child kept saying, "Mom." But when I went to check it out, everyone was asleep. I brushed it off as sleep talking. But over time, it's gotten more persistent. My kids went away for the weekend, so I had their bedroom door closed and didn't go into it during that time. I had gone in right after they left to make sure things were put away, but nothing was out of place, so I left it. When the kids got back home, though, their entertainment center had been pulled out about 2 feet away from the wall, but flush as though they pulled both sides at one time. It destroyed our Xbox and we had to get it repaired. I was super freaked out because my partner and I were home the whole 2 days, never left, and neither of us went in there. Again, just brushed it off. We had cameras installed in the kitchen and living room for security, and they went off constantly for movement, even though no one was there. I eventually had to turn off the notifications because it would wake me up all night. When I woke up, the cabinet doors would be open, long before the kids would wake up for the day. The voices got more frequent. The kids would come to me asking what I wanted because they swore I called their names. My partner did the same thing. And I would hear myself be called and go see what they wanted. And turned out no one called for me. The lights started to flicker randomly. I watched the linen closet door in the hall, just right outside my bedroom door, open. I was sleeping after a long day, and I felt my partner reach out and touch me, only to discover when I rolled over in bed that he wasn't there. I ran screaming that time because I was terrified. I randomly feel as though I have been scratched and have red marks in random places on my body. But the other night, I was in the garage with my partner and I looked at the burnt out light in the corner, and I remarked that we needed a new bulb. And it suddenly came on. Stayed on for a few seconds, and then went dark again. The garage has always been really eerie to me. I don't like being in there alone, but after that, I refuse to go in there. Even my cat and dogs get freaked out when they go in there or come close to the door, hissing or otherwise freaking out and leaving the area. The other day, my partner ran outside while I was outside to check on me. He swore up and down he heard me yelling, "Back off!" as if I was being attacked. I hadn't said a word the whole time I was outside. I know it all sounds really crazy, but I don't even know what this is, let alone what it could want from me or how I could make it go away. Could this be a mimic? I don't know. If somebody told me this story, I admit, I would think they lost their marbles. but it's 100% true. Has anyone ever experienced anything like this? The user also commented, "There's no chance of carbon monoxide poisoning or mold. We don't have any gas appliances, and the house has been inspected." Now that's the end of the post. However, I do want to talk about a comment the user posted in the comment section. And I have a picture I want to show you of where the entertainment center was pulled out from the wall. So in the comment section, another user commented about how this is terrifying. It almost sounds like a movie. Well, the user commented back saying, "I wish it was a movie, and I'm so scared." A pastor came to our house for a completely unrelated reason, and he was so uncomfortable the whole time and left in a hurry. But I hadn't said anything to him about any of this, and maybe he just had somewhere to be. I asked him if he could pray for me, and he said he wouldn't because I wasn't part of their church, which I guess makes sense. I'm not sure who I would reach out to since we don't belong to any church in particular. I also don't know any personal paranormal investigators. Now, I want to show you the photo from the user regarding the entertainment system being pulled straight from the wall. I'll post it now. So this concludes the first story. Now we're going to move on to story number 2. This happened when I was around 13 on a family holiday to Lincolnshire, United Kingdom during the summer. My family have always been the type to do a lot of driving for our vacations, walking and exploring the country we live in. We stayed in mostly caravan parks or rented out cottages, but this year we ended up staying in one of those shared B&Bs where it's pretty much just some guy's house that you can rent a room in. This vacation was for 5 of us: my mom, dad, younger sister, and older brother. We shared 2 rooms between us. My brother and dad in one, and across the hall, me, my sister, and mom in the other. The house was very large. There was a converted garage out front, which also had rooms for guests, and I'm pretty sure it was a 3-floor house. We didn't notice anything odd at all, and the owner seemed lovely. When it came time to go to bed, we felt unsettled. Just very on edge and kind of creeped out. At the time, we put it down to being in a stranger's house and not being in the same room with the men. Me and my mom ended up propping a chair under the door handle since the door didn't have a lock. Maybe it was silly, but it made us feel safer. Eventually, we all got in the bed. It was dark and windy on this night. My mom told me and my sister not to be scared if we heard noises. It was just the tree outside tapping the window. The blinds on our window were a light yellow color, so it was easy with the moon in the porch light to make out the outline of a large oak tree out the window. I remember it looked like it had no leaves, like the kind of tree a crow would be sat in during the opening of a horror movie. All night long, this tree would sway in the wind and tap against the window. I didn't sleep well that night. I woke up multiple times for no apparent reason and ended up just laying, listening to my family breathing and the tree tapping. When the sun rose and we got up, my mom went and opened the blinds. I looked over as she did, and for a second she paused, and then turned and spoke to me. I made the realization the same second she did. So when she said, "Hey, want to know something weird?" I immediately responded with, "There's no tree." Not a single tree anywhere near us. In fact, Directly under our window was a conservatory. There was no tree. It wasn't even possible. My dad and brother tried to convince us it was the trees far in the distance, but these were pine trees and so far from us that they couldn't have been tapping on the window. To this day, they both think we're crazy. When we left that morning, my mom spoke to the owner, just casually asked if anyone had ever noticed anything unusual in the house. He gave a slight smile and said that no one had ever seen anything, but some guests had reported feeling cold spots. I know it was just a tree, but to this day, I can't shake that uneasy feeling from that night. So this concludes story 2, and now we're going to move on to story number 3. So, it's been 10 years since I lived in my childhood home, and I recently found out that my little brother saw things there as well. A little backstory on the house. It was a farmhouse built in the 1900s. It was supposedly a gathering place for farmers. And there are even rumors that Henry Ford owned it for a short time, though I'm not 100% sure about that. Just about everywhere in the house felt haunted. The kitchen and living room were probably the safest places. Growing up, I always felt things, and my brother saw more than I realized. He said there was a little girl who followed him around the house. I will show you a picture of her after the story. Except for the basement, which is a whole other story. No one ever felt comfortable going down there. Back to the spirit with red eyes, from my point of view. In the middle of the night, I had to use the bathroom. As I was about to walk into the dining room, there it was, standing near the cabinets, looking directly at me. The only light was coming from the moon through the window. I don't remember a specific shape, just a black shadow about 6 feet away from me. Our bird was completely silent, which should have scared me. From my brother's point of view, he was probably around 5 to 7 years old at the time. My mom, him, and I would all sleep together in my room. One night, he woke up and saw the same shadow with red eyes standing next to the bed, looking straight at him. Just a little bit more of the haunting. There are a lot of different stories from just about anyone who was open to the spirit realm. Main floor, kitchen, living room, dining room, 1 bedroom, bathroom, and the mudroom that led to the basement, plus the bar room. A friend of the family was not able to fall asleep. He went down to the living room to put the TV on. And when he looked at the window, there was a black mass of a tall man standing behind the chair he was sitting in. My mom woke up to her blanket, trying to choke her. She had to fight to get it off. One of the first nights I was sleeping in the small bedroom with my mom, she got up to use the bathroom, and it felt like I could not move. A family friend could not fall asleep in the small bedroom due to a female spirit pacing around the room and then sitting on the bed with him. You were never alone in the bar room. It always felt like something was above you. There was a radio in the kitchen that was unplugged, and around 3 a.m, it would go off playing "She Will Haunt You Through the Night." Every night we unplugged anything that wasn't needed. My mom was playing a game on the computer and had a ghostly hand reach out to her from the bedroom door frame. There were a few occasions where it sounded like a sledgehammer was hitting from the basement. The first time I heard it, I was alone with my brother, and it was shaking the walls in the living room to the point that the closet door was rattling. My parents and a few cousins ended up hearing it as well during a family game night while everyone was supposed to be sleeping. Upstairs, 3 bedrooms and a full bathroom. I would come home to my toys being moved and things misplaced quite often. One time, I was on the floor playing with toys, and my closet door was slightly cracked open. As I looked up across the room, it started creeping open slowly, like someone was watching me. After that, I kept that closet closed and barely went into it. Anytime it was open, I felt a sense of dread. My brother would sleep in my room and always saw shadows, but never told anyone. It makes me wonder why I would never sleep alone. I always had a pet with me, and our dog hated being in my room, but would stay until I fell asleep and then leave. My brother wouldn't take a bath unless someone was in the bathroom with him. I always felt like someone was outside the bathroom door. If you haven't noticed, my brother hated being by himself in that house, which is totally understandable. Now the basement. Laundry room, 3 small storage rooms with heavy wooden doors, and a small cellar. We all hated the basement. Let's just say that. In the cellar room, there was a chair in the middle of the room with an old case of beer bottles. One day, my mom heard one of those bottles break. We never used that room, and it was left empty. One of those heavy wooden doors slammed shut with no one down there. I always took deep breaths before heading down there and felt like something was watching me just outside of the laundry room. I would run up those stairs, and there was barely any lighting. I don't even think the dog ever went down there. It was a dark and nasty feeling. So before concluding story number 3, I will now show on the screen the photo the user posted. In this photo, you can make out what looks like a little girl peeking out of a closet or an armoire of sorts. So this concludes story number 3. Thank you so much for listening, and if you did like my narration, please leave a like and consider subscribing. So, everyone, please stay safe, and see you next time.